everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Renee. For any of you guys that are new, hello and welcome to our channel. Today's video is going to be some tips that I have in order to make your goals into daily habits and accomplish your goals quicker, faster, and just like knock things out of the park. So I'm gonna go ahead and just jump right into it. The first tip that I have is to create a due date for yourself. This is really important, especially if your goals are a side hobby or a side project that you have for yourself. You don't have a boss or someone telling you when things are due, so you kind of just have this free-for-all of like when you can accomplish it. But if you set yourself a due date, you'll create responsibility and make your goals more measurable. You also have something to look forward to. If you're doing it and you just don't really have a deadline, you're just kind of sporadically doing it, there's no urgency in knocking things out. So when you have that deadline and you have something to look forward to, you're working at it every single day and you optimize your time in order to get the habit done by the time that you wanted. An example for this could be if you want to like run a certain amount of miles by a certain time, you can sign up maybe for a 5K, and you know that by that time your deadline to hit a 5K is on that day because you've already signed up for it. There's no other choice but to hit it at that time frame because you've already scheduled a deadline for yourself. The second tip that I have is to track your progress along the way. When you track your progress, not only is it something fun to do, like I'm just weird like that, I like knocking things off of my to-do list and like crossing them off or highlighting, but also it helps you celebrate those small wins. When we have these little mundane daily habits, it could be easy to lose sight of the bigger picture and it doesn't feel like we're progressing or getting any closer to that big goal. So when you're tracking it, you can see how much you've actually put into your goal, and it makes you more motivated to get it done and keep it consistent because you're seeing the time that you put into these daily habits. And for me, something that I like to do is track my editing time, my uploading time, my filming time, because now I know realistically when I start planning more habits into my daily routine or getting things done in a timely manner, I have more realistic expectations as to how long things took me. So I track my time better for future planning. I know what I can push myself to realistically without draining myself out and giving myself unrealistic time frames, or not giving myself the potential to do more in a day. It's been super helpful for me. The third tip that I have is to break them down. I've said this multiple times throughout my videos, and I think this is so important. When we have that giant goal or something that we want to accomplish, it could be so far out there that you feel like you can't get there and it just seems so unreachable at the moment. But when you sit down and break down your goals into manageable tasks, what I can do right now, what can I do a week from now, what can I do a month from now, and when you break it down like that, it becomes so much more easy and the progress doesn't seem as crazy of an idea, and your goal seems closer to you because you're like, all I have to do is step 1 through 10 and I'll get there. A lot of the times people will get these visualizations of an idea that they have and they get so excited and so motivated, but they don't break down the tasks. They just want to get it done as quick as possible, but it's such a big challenge to even get that goal, and then they become down on themselves when they realize it's actually much harder than it looks and they don't know where to start, and then they just kind of give up on the goal in the first place. So break them down into manageable tasks of what can I do starting right now, and then once I accomplish that, what can I do next to get yourself a little bit closer each and every time you attain these small little goals. Something I like to do is just kind of brain dump everything on my mind, and then I'll like organize all the little pieces of information that I have down, and then I'll put them into like manageable tasks. It just seems so much more easy, it's less daunting, and it becomes more of a simple process, and you'll be able to hit your goal in no time. The fourth tip that I have is to stop thinking about it. I feel like our generation thinks a lot, and we just sit there and think and think and think and create a much more complicated situation by just sitting there and thinking about what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. It's just like a whole mess. My dad's generation, when they were younger, they just got done what they had to get done with no complaining, no BS. They just did what they had to do, and whatever life threw at them, they dealt with it. They didn't sit there and overcomplicate it by thinking and creating worries and more stress into the situation that could have already been a very stressful situation. When we sit there and think about certain things too much, we attach emotion to it, and they're unnecessary emotions, especially if it becomes overwhelming or daunting or hard to deal with. This is extremely important when you have those little goals or those habits that don't seem as fun as maybe some other tasks, or they seem boring or long or hard. Whatever you have in front of your face, don't think about it, just do it. Just freaking do it. You won't sit there and make it a bigger problematic situation than it already is. Just deal with it and do it. When you find yourself just taking the task in front of you as they are without overcomplicating and tying emotion to it, they seem a lot less boring and actually more fun and manageable. I did this the other day in yoga. Like, I was just sitting there and I was just like, oh my god, I have an hour and 15 minutes left, and I just wasn't in the mood to work out, but I was already there. I already dragged my boyfriend with me. So it's like, either I can sit here and think about why I don't want to be here, how hard this is going to be, how much I'm hurting, or I can just enjoy the process and do it, and then it'll be over with. And the yoga session was one of the best yoga sessions I've had, and I felt so good after. The process was so much more fun. It went by quicker just because I didn't attach like unnecessary emotion to it. The fifth tip that I have is to create a habit of resetting. When we reset, not only do we come back stronger and smarter, but we feel a whole lot more clear and productive than before we had a reset. And I think people will take a day off, or they reset, or they take a rest day, and they think, oh, I slipped up. And then it just is easier when you have that mindset of slipping up to just stay in that consistent rut. It'll be harder to like get back to it. But when you create a habit of resetting, you're looking at the reset as a necessary habit, which it is. We all need a break sometimes. People just have so much on their plate and they think the more that they do, the better, but it's really bad because you're putting less energy and focus and attention onto things that you could have gotten done in a much smarter way, more happy, more efficient, more quick, just if you had a reset the day before. I used to look at resets as like slip-ups, but they're not that at all. And when you make a habit to reset, that's when things start shifting. It's necessary, and you don't look at it as like a slip up. You look at it as like kind of like charging your battery. I literally right here on my workout post-it note now, I have 2 rest days that I have to cross off. So I have to take my rest days. It's part of the process. I get so much more done and I feel better. You need to take a step back sometimes to prevent burnout and also refresh your mindset. You know those times where like you're in the middle of something, whether it's your homework or like writing something, and you get this block in your head and you're just like, you can't think clearly, and you get frustrated and frazzled and you're just wasting your time and energy into just being upset. When you leave the situation and you come back an hour later, the idea pops in your head and you're just like, that's all I needed, but just let it go for like 5 seconds and then come back. So create a habit to reset. Put that in your schedule. Have a reset day. Have a rest day for your workout. I like to sometimes go for a walk outside. I do these things called like scenic drives. So like I'll just pop in my music and just go drive around these places with like beautiful homes and just like take a chill pill and just relax. And then when I get back, I am so much more efficient and productive, and it's just like such a good feeling. The 6th tip that I have is to be more selective with your options. We live in a day where like we have so many different options to accomplish the same task. There's so many different options. Even in the cereal aisle, there's a whole freaking aisle of just cereal that you can choose from, and it could be so confusing to like sit there and be like, what should I do? What's the best option for me? So many options. Unbelievable. And instead of picking multiple different options, pick one, see if it works. If it works, use it, and that's it. Be selective and say yes to less. Things become less complicated and it becomes more simple, and you get more stuff done. You're able to focus and put attention onto things that truly matter to you and bring you closer to your goal, rather than just wasting time by having too many options selected and your mind all over the place. You're able to put that focus into things that truly deserve your time and energy. So eliminate those excessive options by just choosing what works best for you. A very like random example for this is like calendars. There's so many different calendar options. There's like planners that you can get at the store. They have bullet journals now. There's online calendars. There's apps. There's whiteboards. There's just so many options in terms of calendars, and I used to be one to like all of them, but I'd be writing the same thing down like 3 different times, and it's just such a waste of time and energy. So I chose one. I'm like, I have my Google Calendar now, and that's all I use. It works best for me. I can use it wherever. It's electronic. I don't have any like paper waste. I don't get annoyed at my perfectionism in terms of like drawing. I used to do that all the time at bullet journaling. Like it would just drive me nuts. And then I don't have to write things down in all different places. I have everything down in one calendar and I can take it with me and it just works for me. So I eliminated my options and I just use one calendar now. I used to have 3 different gyms because I was like, I need a yoga, I need a regular gym. I have my gym here in my apartment complex. Now I go to one gym where everything is in one place. I was more selective with that. Just little things like that in terms of your goals and habits. See what you can be more selective with in terms of your options. Are you doing the same thing twice? Are you doing unnecessary tasks? The 7th tip that I have is to be more decisive. This one's really hard for me because I am such an indecisive person, like really bad, but I've learned to listen to my gut a little bit more, and when I make a decision, stick with it. I do catch myself occasionally being like indecisive, but it literally stresses me out so much because I am a perfectionist. I tend to like think too much about certain things that don't really need time and energy into. For example, my thumbnails, like I'll have so many different thumbnail options and I will just sit there and debate which one I should use. Should I use this one? Should I use this one? I'll ask like tons of people. I'll like change the filter, change the wording, change the font, change the picture altogether, and I'll just sit there and waste hours on thinking about which thumbnail I should choose, when in reality, does it really matter? Yeah, it matters, but not to the point where I'm like spending hours on it. So I now choose which one I like, and I put it up and I delete all the pictures and I'm like, okay, I made a decision. I don't even have the pictures anymore to play with, and that's what I'm using. You have to be your own boss, especially if your goals are things that you are doing by yourself without a boss, because you have to give yourself these rules and you have to like be strict with yourself because that's what's gonna work. And you can spend more time doing things that actually matter and things that require the energy and time that you're putting into this indecisiveness in the first place. When you're indecisive, it becomes not only just like time, but also emotional energy that's tied to it, and it literally can just like drain you. When you're just more decisive with your decisions, it boosts your productivity like crazy. But there's also this thing that I heard that's called, I think it's called decision fatigue or something. Like how many options throughout the day that we have is insane. I will pop something here on the screen. I read this book called The Happiness Equation where he literally tracked all of his decisions just in the morning, and it is absolutely ridiculous how much time we sit there and think about certain decisions. It's super draining. Like by the end of the day, because of all the decisions we've made, our productivity kind of like, and motivation kind of goes down as we go throughout the day. And like that's why people say like your prime is like right when you wake up, because you're just so refreshed, you had your reset, and then you just haven't made as many decisions as you would probably later in the day. So it's just crazy to think about. And the last and final tip that I have is the power of planning. You guys know I love my planning. I have made my planning more simplistic. I think planning too much is actually like does the opposite. It can literally slow your motivation, slow down your productivity. Find what works best for you. I have some planning videos that I can show you guys some examples of how I plan, but I don't plan my day to a T. I used to do that and it literally like was just way too much and not time efficient. I just like simplified it. But what I like to do is I'll plan every Sunday for the week and kind of give myself like a, okay, this day I'm filming, this day I'm editing. Like that's pretty much it. I don't really go into like, oh, at 6 o'clock I'm gonna wake up and run for an hour and then get ready at 7 and then eat breakfast at 8. Like that's just too much. I'm literally like, okay, it's an editing day and I'm gonna run that day, or you know, certain things like that. And then I will plan my month in a more broader scale, so like I can see like a bigger picture as to like what I have planned for the month. And that's again super like simplistic, nothing too crazy. I just want to see what days I have what, if I'm traveling, like if I have any appointments, and then I can plan my weeks around those based on like what I have going on throughout the month. Like if I'm traveling, I have to like pre-film certain videos, and just like it's this whole thing. And then every single night before I go to bed, I will pop here on my calendar real quick and see what I have going for the day. That way when I wake up, I have a clear vision as to like what I have to get done for the day, and I have an idea of how my day is going to be. But I'm also not frazzled and freaked out if the day doesn't go as planned, because it's super simplistic. I can move things around. So that's pretty much my tips on how to create habits out of your goals and how to get more things done. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you guys have any tips for me that you would like to add, please comment them down below. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys all in a future video.
Coming in, flex, I just wanna win, LA BB, who we running with, 2, 2, 3, 3, I'm on 10.